Hej Lukas, hörde att du numera bor utomlands.
Wait a minute, what exactly is going on here? Okay, just to bring everyone up to speed, this is actually Ulf Kristersson, Sweden's new Prime Minister, who on October 18th, 2022 established the new current government of Sweden. And this Lukas he is greeting in this video, well, that is me, a Swedish national, but who has spent the last 11 years in Taiwan and who currently spend most of my time introducing Taiwan, both to Taiwanese people, but also to foreigners from all over the world. And this, well, this appears to be Ulf Kristersson's personal coffee cup, which, as you can see, has a big, bright Taiwanese flag in the middle of it. So as you can imagine, we have a lot of things to talk about in today's video, and if you watch my previous videos from here in Bali, you might remember that I said that I would not record any new videos while I'm here on my so-called vacation. But of course, as soon as I received this video greeting from the Prime Minister of Sweden himself, I of course had to just drop everything and make sure that I recorded this video for you guys as well. And maybe you think that just receiving a little bit of support from the Swedish Prime Minister is not that big of a deal for you living in Taiwan. But to us Swedes, supporting Taiwan is a huge deal, and it's so huge in fact, so the Prime Minister in his very first speech, actually in his own declaration of the government, he is actually including the country of Taiwan by name. But in order to at least try to explain this in a little bit more detail and also try to explain how all of these things are connected, we actually have to go back to earlier this year when the Swedish delegation came to visit Taiwan to have a meeting with President Tsai and YouTuber Lukas Engström.
Please watch Lukas Engström's channel. He's a real YouTuber, not paid by China.
Because as you all should know by now, Sweden has a long track record of actually supporting Taiwan. And at least according to the Swedish delegation member Lars Adaktusson himself, the average Swede actually has a pretty good understanding regarding the current relationship between Taiwan and China.
I think people know pretty much about Taiwan. Average Swedes know that Taiwan is constantly under harassment from China and from Beijing, and that the Taiwanese people is under pressure from a regime that we find very far from us when it comes to these fundamental democratic values. If we, from a small country like Sweden, can give support to a country like Taiwan, and I say country, we should definitely do that. We could do more, and we should do more.
And if you thought that Lars Adaktusson was only representing this small delegation in Taiwan when he said that we can actually support Taiwan even more, then let's hear it straight from the Swedish Prime Minister during his first speech as Prime Minister and during the actual declaration of the new Swedish government.
Herr talman, Kinas nya tonläge mot Taiwan inger oro. Hot om militärt våld är oacceptabelt. Det gäller alla länder och alldeles särskilt för permanenta medlemmar i FN:s säkerhetsråd. Sveriges relation till Kina bör vara förankrad i en gemensam europeisk strategi med en tydlig transatlantisk länk.
But it's actually not only the highest level of Swedish politicians who are currently talking about Taiwan. Taiwan is also discussed during the largest morning news show in Sweden, where Jojje Olsson himself was actually interviewed talking about the current situation between Taiwan and China. And if you don't remember exactly who Jojje Olsson is, he's actually a Swedish reporter who's currently living in Taiwan, but is the founder and the main guy behind Sweden's largest news site covering Chinese news. But he's actually also been the news subject himself here in Taiwan, since he has received countless of threats from the Chinese embassy since he has been a little bit critical regarding the Beijing's policies. So when I am saying that the entire country of Sweden is supporting Taiwan, I am actually referring to the entire country, all the way from the top politicians and the Prime Minister himself down to the Swedish delegation who came here to Taiwan, but also the Swedish news media and the Swedish reporters such as Jojje Olsson. So, well, there at least you have a little bit more information regarding the Swedish support of Taiwan, at least from the last couple of months, but it still does not explain the entire picture, such as why is the Prime Minister greeting me personally in one of his videos, why is he drinking coffee from a Taiwanese coffee cup, and as if that was not enough, did he actually rent his own private plane only so he could record and send me this private video message only to me? Well, not exactly. Let me explain. This video message was actually part of his political party's voting campaign in order to create awareness to us Swedes currently living abroad, because we do have a tendency to not really pay too much attention on what's going on in Sweden this time of the year. But you know, who can actually blame us, because it's currently November back home in Sweden, and I guess it's also November in Taiwan. But regardless, in November it's basically just rain, snow, and then a little bit more rain. So not that much is actually happening back home in Sweden. So we Swedes who have actually managed to escape the bitter cold of Sweden and have decided to settle down in Taiwan or currently spending a month vacation in Bali, we may not actually pay attention that much on what is going on. So they made a dedicated video greeting to all us Swedes living abroad and to just reminding us that our voices are actually just as important as they've ever been before, and we of course still have the possibility to vote, although we're not currently in Sweden. And I think that this is also a great opportunity to remind you, the Taiwanese people, that you also have an election coming up later this month as well. I have to admit, since I'm not able to actually vote in the Taiwanese elections, I haven't really paid that much attention to the political news here in Taiwan, and I have to say that I personally think that is a very good thing, because the last time I was encountered with some politicians here in Taiwan, it ended up being a little bit of a surreal event, with two of the main candidates of the upcoming elections started to compete with each other in a KTV singing contest, and then afterwards they started to ask me, a Swedish citizen living in Taiwan, some questions about the flag of Switzerland.
亲爱的，别任性，你的眼睛。
瑞典的国旗是这样，对不对？
这是瑞士的。So with that said, I think it's best that we both focus on our own country's voting and election procedures, but that we actually do take the time to go and vote and make our democratic voice heard in the country we live in. For example, in the previous Swedish election, the result was so close, so it actually took them 3 days of double checking and triple checking every single vote before they could actually conclude that Ulf Kristersson and his team was actually able to create the new government with 49.7% of the vote. And you might have actually picked up that I said Ulf Kristersson and his team instead of saying Ulf Kristersson and his party, because his party alone did not get the majority of the votes. And to make this a little bit more complicated, Ulf Kristersson, which is the new Prime Minister of Sweden, his party is not even the biggest one in Ulf Kristersson's team. But I think that might be a topic for another video, because it actually took me, a Swedish national, 33 years to actually understand how this entire Swedish government system actually works. Because if I am gonna be honest, I absolutely have no interest in Swedish politics, and when I was in school this was actually my least favorite subject I have ever had. But I do want to summarize the Swedish election and actually also the Taiwanese election and any other democratic election in the entire world by quoting my absolute favorite teacher of all times, which is Kent Gustafsson at Sandrudskolan in Kiel, when he tried to talk to me about Swedish political system, why democracy and just voting rights was so important, and why voting was the most important thing you can ever do. And this just shows why Kent Gustafsson was just such an amazing teacher, because I still remember this as if it was yesterday, although it was actually 20 years ago. He looked me straight into the eyes and he said, "Lucas, do you know why voting is so important? It gives you the right to complain. If you don't even spend that 1 hour it takes for you to vote once every 4 years, you don't care about what's happening in your city, you don't care what's happening in your region, and you don't care about what is happening in your country, then you will actually lose the right to complain for the next 4 years." Although I'm not French, I do actually love my right to complain if it is something that I'm not actually agreeing with. But if you do not vote later this month in Taiwan, for example, you are actually losing every single right to complain about the politicians, about the system, because it is actually through the process of complaining, at least according to a good Italian friend of mine, that we will actually be able to improve something that we are not 100% satisfied with.
Pizza, espresso, pasta, go!
But with that said, hopefully you are 100% satisfied with this video, and if that is the case, please do make sure to subscribe to this channel to support me a little bit extra and to help this channel grow so I can actually promote Taiwan to a bigger audience, both in Taiwan but also to other foreigners all over the world. And if you do want to support me a little bit extra, please also consider becoming a YouTube channel member, or send me some super thanks on YouTube or some stars on Facebook, since 100% of these donations and the support will go straight back into the channel in order for me to make more and better videos about Taiwan every single week. Thank you all so much for watching. My name is Lucas. Starts with L as in like, ends with S as in subscribe. Please do both, and see you all in the next one.